Super PS. Super PS. Super PS. Super PS. Super PS. Super PS.
Hey everyone, Brank here. I recently had the opportunity of speaking with Rick Lagnese, the U.S. community manager of Warhorse Studios, about their forthcoming game, Kingdom Come Deliverance. It sounds like it's going to be amazing, and we hope you enjoy the interview. Also, we apologize about the audio quality. We had some technical issues with the mics on our end.
Hey everybody, it's Branky here. I've had the pleasure today of talking to, who am I talking with actually?
You are speaking with Rick Lagnese, the U.S. community manager of Warhorse Studios.
Nice, man. Warhorse Studios. Rick, how long have you been working with Warhorse Studios?
Well, I've been with Warhorse Studios now for almost 2 years. I believe it was 2 years ago in March, and then in May I became the U.S. community manager.
Nice. How did you get in contact with them? They're in the Czech Republic, yeah?
They are, and I am in the good old USA. So let's see. Long story short, I was a fan of the game before even the Kickstarter, and I saw Dan Varvar, our creative director, actually go into the actual locations in this one video that was in the game, and it really interested me that this game was being made without magic or dragons. I've been so wanting to play an RPG that's just, sword shields, bows and arrows and no messing around kind of thing. And it's the one game my brother-in-law actually told me that year of going to E3, where they were going to make their first appearance at E3, to check out that game. So here I am all excited to check out Kingdom Come Deliverance, and then all of a sudden, on Twitter, there was a post saying, "Hey, we need help setting up a party for our fans at E3. Who's going to help?" And I'm like, man, I'm going nuts on my phone, me. And so they had said, okay. And we, basically started talking. I started Skyping with Toby, our PR manager, and JR, our marketing manager, about this party to set up for the fans at E3. And I'm freaking out, telling people I know, I'm actually talking to these guys who are working on the game, a game that I've always wanted to, that I've been waiting for. And then, come E3 comes around, and I meet Dan and Toby and Martin Klima and, big guys in the company. And the party went really well. I hosted a party at a pub to show off the game, have some drinks. Well, I guess I had some waters, but everyone else had some drinks, and had a good time, learning about Kingdom Come Deliverance. And I just hit it off with Warhorse Studios, and we just kept in touch. And over time, they said they wanted me to be a part of Warhorse Studios, and of course, I didn't have to think twice about that one.
That's awesome. I actually didn't do a whole lot of digging. So this was a Kickstarter game?
Yeah, actually, I might as well give you the backgrounds. So, okay. What's interesting is that there's really never been a game ever made before based on medieval Bohemia in 1403. In this European history, what we have here is, and I guess you could say more specifically, Czech history. That's what Bohemia is, modern day Czech Republic, and it's never been done before. And Dan Varvra and Martin Klima. Well, most people know Dan Varvra has experience or is the creative director for Mafia 1 and 2. While Martin Klima, he was the author of the pen and paper fantasy RPG Dragon's Lair.
Really?
Oh yeah, yep, in '97.
Wow. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, he also worked on UFO Aftermath and Operation Flashpoint. And what's interesting is when you talk about Kingdom Come Deliverance, and when these guys put their thoughts together, That's what this game is basically is when you put the the Mafia 1 and Mafia 2 together in Operation Flashpoint. You got the heavy, story-driven content with important choices you make with the realism of the shooter of Flashpoint, Operation Flashpoint. And so, all good ideas in the Czech Republic usually start in a pub.
Nice.
Talked about the game. So it was, we just had like a prototype. Warhorse Studios, it was founded in 2011, but really by the time of the Kickstarter, we just had or before the Kickstarter, we had a prototype, and nobody really believed that we could make a game without Magic or Dragons. We couldn't find any investors. And then
Really?
because again, at that time, Skyrim and these other great games are out, and it's like, how are we going to make a game that can have this, maybe certain similarities per se, but no Magic, no Dragons, make it on actual history. And that was the theme of our Kickstarter, was Dungeons and no Dragons. So, but the one investor said, listen, what we need to do is let's do like a prove it thing. Like, let's see, our fans of the game that, they'll get behind us, and that this will be a game that we can make and go wholeheartedly into, right? So in 2014, we had just, basically a prototype of our game. And our goal was around 300,000 euros. And by the end of 2014, we were the third most successful Kickstarter that year, as we did over 1,100,000 euros.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were like locked and loaded. And that's when we really started working with our studio team of over like 100 and, well, now we have like around 110 people. Plus one, U.S., me.
Are you the only person in the U.S. working on the game?
Yeah, I am. So I'm like a hybrid guy. I do a lot of community management, a lot of PR, and it's just exciting to see all this come together, because this is the one game that my brother-in-law I wanted to see. My brother-in-law and I wanted to, see at E3, and now I'm working with these guys, and I get to manage the Steam forums, and I love it, because I talk to the guys and gals all day long. I feel like these days on Steam and Reddit, and I love writing. Even the newsletters, just the announcements. Like, oh man, I can't wait to. I'm typing this up. Like, man, these guys are gonna love this. And I love being able to travel to E3, and I've gone to GDC. I've gone to E3 2 or 3 times now with Warhorse, and Gamescom 2 times. It's been amazing. And I went to PSX with Toby, our PR manager. And I went to PAX South myself. Just love representing the game, love the feedback we get, and I just it's just amazing. It's just a great experience overall, talking about a game with a smaller studio for the size of the game we're making, that it's actually coming out in like less than 2 weeks, February 13th, and I'm just so happy and honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, it'll be here before you know it. How long have you been in the gaming industry before you joined Warhorse?
So that's another thing. Is this is always the interesting part is I really was like trying to be like a wannabe journalist. I try to have like a team of 10 people, and just try and see what angles worked, and had people write about different things, and I tried to lead a team, and we just kind of got to a point where I didn't even have, I don't know, I had to take a step back, because I'm like, man, I just don't see me being able to keep this going for a long period of time. And I just kind of stopped. And we weren't well known or anything. We were just getting our feet wet. So the bottom line is, I got really lucky. Thank God.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. That went from like, hey, you're trying something, to a dream come true job.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I know that I'm very fortunate, and I just don't think I could ever take it for granted, because I know people work really hard, to try and have a job like this. And I can never not but give my 110% every day that I'm working.
For sure. And you're working really hard for it right now, man, with all your traveling. So we actually have been dodging the name of it, man. Kingdom Come Deliverance, coming out February 13th. We're all super excited. You've explained a little bit about the premise. It's a game like fantasy RPG with no fantasy elements. It's a medieval, I should say, not fantasy, medieval RPG. Sorry, sorry. I know exactly what you said earlier. It's not fantasy. It's Dungeon, no Dragons. What? like, who are the main characters in the game? And we know the setting now, Bohemia, but who are the main characters that the player is going to get to know?
Okay, yeah. So being that it's an open world RPG, like we said, and it's based on medieval Bohemia, and it takes place in 1403. So you play as Henry, son of a blacksmith. So Henry is the guy you play as, and there would be a lot that goes on with Henry. But what's interesting is Henry isn't going to be like some lord or like some king. He's going to be the humble son of a blacksmith who tries to become a soldier and get the respect from his captain and the rest of the soldiers and so forth. So, but he will have many important decisions and things to do in the game, and he comes under the service of Sir Ratchet Cobelia. And what's important right here is if you've seen the box cover art, it shows Henry with kneeled with the sword. He's sword facing in front of you, so to speak. He's bowing down, if you will. And this sword is something that was again, son of a blacksmith, right? So it was the last thing that he made with his father for Sir Ratchet Cobelia. It was the last thing he made before his father and mother were murdered right in front of him. And because what happened in actual history, even though Henry himself is a fictional character, I mean, it is a video game after all, but King Sigismund of Hungary had invaded Bohemia in 1403 with a mercenary raid called the Cumans.
Okay.
And the Cumans are a nomadic tribe. So they were actually once came from Asia and were forced out by the Mongolians. And now they've been in Hungary for the past 100 years. So they've learned the language, they've learned the customs, of course. And they come over with King Sigismund to invade, like I said, Bohemia, and actually abduct King Sigismund's own half-brother, who's King Wenceslas IV. So he took advantage of a situation because King Wenceslas was a bum. He was called the idle king. I mean, what most people don't realize is at this point in time in history, this is where the Holy Roman Empire was going on. I mean, the Pope was there to crown King Wenceslas, and he didn't even show up for his own coronation. He just was a man that liked to party and mess around. So King Sigismund saw this as an opportunity, and he abducts his own half-brother, and they actually did invade your hometown, your homeland, which is Silver Scalus, and burn it to the ground. And in the game, it shows that these events happened, and then your parents were killed in front of you, and excuse me, as you barely escape. And I don't want to give away all the parts of the story, but right. But you a lot of this is actually seen in some of our trailers. So
yeah,
as Henry tries to go back and bury his parents, the sword is taken from him. This sword that he made with his father. So he's on a quest for vengeance. Henry's pissed. He wants vengeance. He wants to get the sword back and restore honor to his father. And so he comes under the service of Ratchet Cobelia. And, there's a lot of interesting characters in the game, but that gives you the premise of what our game's about.
And I this is something that you kind of sparked my interest in. How much of it is based on actual history? I actually didn't realize it. I mean, I realized it wasn't fantasy, but I didn't realize the game was based on historical facts.
Well, you know what? So much so to the point where, like I was saying earlier, that even the map's not necessarily a 1-to-1 ratio, scale in the game. However, we have reconstructed castles, buildings, towns, cities, even the vegetation and trees are from the Czech Republic. And how it once looked in Bohemia. I've actually, I go and I visit the studio every year for a couple weeks for Gamescom, and I, visit, the team and all that, of course. And I've been to some of these sites. I've been to the Castle of Ratai and other places that I was like, oh my goodness, of course it doesn't look like how it was back then. But we have a full-time historian, Joanna, that works on our team to make sure we keep everything, should I say, in check. Get it?
Nice.
Okay, that was lame. I try these plugs sometimes on podcasts. Either I get like people actually really do laugh, or they're like, yeah, no. I try.
I like it. I like the puns, man. I'm a big fan. So I want to get into the meat of the combat with you, man. Like, what are the systems in this game? Like, the story is crazy interesting, and we could probably talk about that all day, but I know you have limited time. So I want to know, what is the player going to be doing when they're playing this game?
Yeah, and you know, you said combat. Combat is just so important in the game. I mean, we put a ton of work and emphasis into the combat because, I mean, we even had professional swordsmen and fencers that worked in our mocap studio to show the actual animations of how they swung the weapons and how you would attack and defend. Dan Varver himself put on armor to just to test how it actually worked. And so what we use, because you mentioned combat, I'll go there first, is we use a physical collision system. So what we do is we're actually calculating the amount of damage you do based on what weapon you have, what type of armor they're wearing or not, and how hard you actually hit them. So if you have a sword and you just barely hit them, and even if they don't have a lot of armor on, but you barely hit them, you won't do as much damage as if you had greater impact, which means swords will clang off swords. Literally, they're not going to go through each other. A sword will hit off shield and armor. You know, it's actually fantastic when you're in the middle of a battle, in a bigger battle, and man, just you try to run in like Spartacus, but you can't, okay? Because we try to make the combat very realistic. And you'll get knocked around like a ping pong ball if you're trying to go and try and take out a bunch of guys, because it's not going to happen. You can't just go in and take out, like, you know, taking out even like 2 or 3 guys at a time. You have to be really super good and really pay attention, because you're going to have to work with, you know, the people who are fighting with you or use some strategies. But the thing is you know, our game is a very story-driven game. So it's not necessarily a fighting game at the same token, because you could go through most of this game without fighting. It's really up to you how you want to play the game, because while there's only one ending, it's up to you how you get there. So just back to the history part is that, yeah, history will repeat itself. So you could actually look back in history to read ahead into the game, ironically as that sounds. But, you know, I would say this, that when I say you can play the game the way you want, we have quests that you have some of these quests where you can solve them 4 to 5 different ways and have even triggered different cutscenes based on the choices you make. You could avoid a skirmish that maybe is like 10 to 20 guys going at it, right? And I could be like, hey man, dude, I just had this awesome skirmish, and it was like I took out this Gain Lord, and you're like, man, I talked my way out of it. I didn't even have to have that happen.
That's awesome.
So there's a lot of choices you'll make in the game, and you know, you can use combat for the majority of it. You can balance it out, and there's no classes either. So you get to choose what you want to do for each mission based on what you think is going to be the best outcome.
So it is. You mentioned like the gameplay, how you can choose any type of style. It is an RPG, right? We talked about this earlier on.
It's definitely a role-playing game.
How do you like level up? Like I saw the trailer. I think hopefully a lot of our listeners did. The recent one that was just like a couple weeks ago that was released, or last week, and it was amazing. And it was a 16-minute in-depth trailer on all the stuff they can do in the game. And some of those systems sound insane to me, like how you level up and stuff, like how much like they've improved upon previous systems, maybe, you know, originally introduced in like Skyrim or the Elder Scrolls series. But in case I'm wrong, like how do you like level up and get better and learn to charm your way out of fights?
Yeah, great. That's a fantastic question, because our game involves a lot of role playing. So what you use is what you level up with. If you want to, you know, increase your fighting skills, well, then you're going to want to fight, of course. If you use, you know, there's even perks that you unlock too. So there's different perks based on what weapon you use, or based on your, you know, persuasion skills, intimidation, impression, and your, you know, of course, the speech skill. So it's really interesting, because the more people you talk to, you can unlock more skills for your speech, which unlock perks. For example, one of the things we showed off in some of our gameplay footage at Gamescom was that it's almost like a chess game when you're talking to some people, because you can choose, if, again, like I was saying, if you want to use your speech skill, or maybe you want to try and impress them with your speech skill. So, you know, if you're talking to a nobleman, you might want to wear the right clothes, because you can have a high speech skill, but what good is it if you're not wearing the right clothes, right? You need to fit in. Or what if there's soldiers around, or maybe there's someone you want to intimidate? Well, you might want to be wearing some heavy armor. Maybe you want to wear some blood, or wear some blood. Maybe you want to have some blood on your clothes, or not clean it, because you can clean your clothes. So keep them dirty, keep them all, you know, ruffled up, so you can intimidate somebody. But what's interesting is they have skills too. That's where the chess game comes in. And if you level up your speech skill enough, you might have a perk where you can actually unlock to see their skills to have a little bit of a head start.
Oh, that's
And
awesome.
yeah, and this is really a video game. As realistic as we make the combat, you can get these perks that will help give you advantages as well to make it more, where we give you that challenging perspective and that fun perspective, and we put them both together, and it makes for some really intense combat. Not to mention the choices you make, because again, this game technically wouldn't be labeled as a fighting game because you get to play it how you want. So, the speech skill, impression, these skills work together, and keep in mind that this is a living world. So these NPCs have their own stats, as I was saying as well. So you got to pay attention to what's going on around you.
Yeah, man, that just sounds like incredible. All the same, I can't wait for 2 weeks from now, or a week when people listen to this. So do you know if the game changed along the way? Because development cycles, I feel like I remember hearing about this game quite a bit of time ago. So I was wondering if you knew if it changed or evolved in any way over the past 4 years, or I can't even remember when it was started.
Yeah, I mean, we really went full force, in our with the succession of our Kickstarter in 2014, and the thing is, it really did evolve in a way because we had planned in the beginning 3 acts, and the first game we were making it so big that the first 2 acts ended up becoming Kingdom Come, our first game, and so that's what's really exciting is like, we've made a much bigger game than expected, to the point of like the average person will put in like 50 hours. And then if you want to be thorough, you could definitely put in around 100 or more. And it just evolved into this really big game with rich content of history. Or if you're not into history, it doesn't really matter either, because you can just play it the way you want. And sometimes people get reminded of Skyrim in that sense too. But, otherwise, we've really stuck true to what we've always wanted to do. Dan Varvra, Martin Klima, Victor Boken, Thomas, they wanted this game to be how they wanted it to be from the very beginning. So the integrity of the game has stayed the same.
Okay, that's amazing. I mean, I just hear about so many games that go through drastic overhauls that I was curious. I was like, was Kingdom Come originally a submarine game? I'm just messing with you. But
yeah, no.
Because the Kickstarter obviously was showing this way before. That's great. I really didn't know it was a Kickstarter. I normally, when games are mentioned in the news, they mention that they were previously successful Kickstarters. So that's awesome. That's really, really cool. I love Kickstarter games for the most part. So how big is your team now? You did mention more than 100 people.
Yeah, maybe estimating around 110.
Is it like the second biggest video game studio besides the Witcher team in all of Czech? Because I can't imagine any other team that size besides them and maybe CD Projekt.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not even too sure, but we all I know is we make it happen with the team we got.
Yeah,
we try.
I mean, it looks amazing. I mean, it looks like you guys make it happen. That's a good sized team, especially for like. I mean, I know you could always want more people to work on assets and work on things, but that's still 100 people is a good sized team. I definitely think so. So what do you think of the press so far given to Kingdom Come Deliverance? Like the write-ups in Game Informer. I heard about you guys on Kotaku. It must have been at least 3 years ago. Maybe it was at the Kickstarter time 4 years ago. But what do you guys think about the press, like things that people have been saying so far about the game in advance?
Yeah, so we've visited a lot of journalists and bigger companies, smaller companies, and the thing that we care about the most is just obviously what we hear from the fans, what we do as a studio, and then with the press, it's like, what, we've actually felt like we've gotten really good feedback. I really like it when someone mentions something about, like, even for example, if they're saying, I don't know, something about like the length of the game or the history, and maybe they have concerns about like we'll say like the fun of the combat. I'm like, oh wow, they don't even know about the perks yet, or like the leveling up, and like, because we haven't shown like a ton of what the perks can do in the game. I'm like, oh my goodness, I almost want to spill all the beans, but I don't want to ruin it, and like, so the feedback even from the press, man, it's been great. And like I really look forward to when people actually talk about this game, because we've put all our passion, our heart and soul into this. And you know what? More than anything else, we just hope that everyone enjoys it as much as we have enjoyed this journey, and we believe that's going to happen because we've already gotten such good feedback and support from pretty much everyone we've talked to. And you know, as far as you know, there's no such thing as 100. Let's be honest here. There's no such thing as 100% perfection, but in our minds, we're putting 100,000% into this. And so we know that when we're confident enough that we're going to see a very good product, and we're going to, you know, see a lot of people happy about our game.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's definitely, you guys chose a great time to release in February. It's definitely the game that I'm waiting for in February, the biggest release I can think of by far. And that's I mean, high praise considering there's a bunch of big franchises that are releasing their games in February as well. But you did choose a good time, beginning of the year. This is when The Witcher 3 debuted and a bunch of other games, and it's a great time for people to sink into a really big open world experience. After the game's released, which is still going to be about a week out from when people start listening to this, what are the future plans that you guys can discuss? Do you guys have any plans to port it to anything, maybe Switch? You guys have updates, DLC, anything that you guys can talk about?
Well, I'll at least say this. I mean, we have a really solid relationship, very solid relationship with Deep Silver, because they're our publisher. And so, you know, we together with Deep Silver will talk about DLC and things after release. I mean,
Okay.
You know, people who have found our game know that we are definitely going to have DLC.
Okay, cool.
So
yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to press you. I just wanted to check, see what you guys could say.
No. I can just tell you that, you know, we're going to be supporting this game for a long time, and stay tuned.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome, man. Okay, so before we stop talking about Kingdom Come, and I have just a few questions at the end, is there anything else you want to say about it? We'll also, mention the release and stuff at the end, but is there anything else that we didn't get a chance to talk about that has you, super excited that I was like, oh, man, I just breezed over?
Well, boy, where to start or where to finish, and try and keep it simple. You know, basically, with Kingdom Come Deliverance, being able to choose how you play in an open and living world that responds to the choices you make really makes you think about every move that you make because we have a crime system that's pretty in depth, and you need to pay attention. You know, that's one thing actually that I could just maybe even give you an example of something in the crime system, because it's been coming up a little bit on some podcasts. So maybe if you don't mind, I can just say
for sure. I'd love to hear about it.
Well, because there was one kind of funny thing, because, you know, we've tested this, tested that, and, you know, when you're in these certain cities and towns are close by, people talk in the game, all right? And you have a reputation with individuals or with merchants, with guards, soldiers, people in the town, you know, not just for the whole city is, you know, here's your reputation for the city, so everyone's going to love you. No, some people might hate you. You know what I mean? But what's interesting is, if you go to a nobleman and you were to take steal his necklace or something, right? And then you go and you try and sell it somewhere, and you try and go to another town. Well, if this other town, you know, then you go to a merchant and sees that you're trying to sell this necklace, and they see it's maybe from Ratai or something, and it's something of great value. And then they see you in some really crummy clothes, and they're like, where did you get this? This, you know, I recognize this. And then they get suspicious, and they might call the guards on you. And you think you're free because you went to another town. Well, in this game, you're not just going to be able to, you know, think you can do something and get away with it, whether it's even murdering someone, kill someone, or stealing something. Because even if you do get away with something, prices might go up in the shop. Merchants might have a sword on them or some kind of weapon because they're suspicious. Maybe they didn't see you, but they know that something's going on. You might see more guards in the area. You know, we've talked about with the combat how you don't have to always resort to fighting, but also certain enemy camps you can sometimes sneak in, poison their food, burn up their arrows, sabotage, and it's just the funny aspect. While there is a one ending, there's going to be so many different stories to tell that you and I could probably have about 20 to 30 different stories playing the same game with one ending.
Yeah, the emergent gameplay aspects sound incredible. The idea where so much different stuff can happen to one or to two different people playing the game, that sounds like it could essentially almost be a different experience entirely.
the funny part of it is for people who like to be completionists and like to trigger every cutscene or every this or that, it's not going to be possible in one playthrough, because you're going to have to make choices that you got to stick with.
Yeah.
And even the saving in the game, you can't just save it. There's not going to be like okay, save 10 seconds. Now save another 30 seconds. It saves when you sleep, you're at an important part in the game, or if you drink, shave your snaps. So if you drink, and you have to make sure you have that on hand. So
how plentiful are those, by the way? I watched the video, I talked with a friend about it, and I am one of those terrible players who does save scum my way through a lot of things where I'm obviously it doesn't need to be like every single minute you find a savior schnapps or you can purchase 1 million of them, but it would be nice to know, like, do you know if there's a decent amount of them in the game, so you're not like, oh, there's a camp, but I can't ever use this because I only have 4 of these, like a camp of bandits, and I don't want to risk taking them on.
You know what? You can find your way around. I know that people will want to have guides of where the savior snaps are. It'll be kind of funny, and yeah. I think that you build up enough groschen, and you'll be able to get. Well, you'll see. You'll see.
Okay. I won't pressure you on that. Well, then we'll bring that a little bit up about Kingdom Come at the end, but I want to ask you a couple questions. 2017 was a crazy year for gaming. It sounds like you've been working on this stuff nonstop. But what's a favorite game of yours that you played recently?
Let's see here. It's a tough one because, I actually have 5 children and been married now for over 15 years. And my point with that is, I've only been able to play so many games, and there's still some that are on the back burner that I want to get to that might have been my, favorite game of the year. So with that said, last year, Dark Souls 3, I love Dark Souls. I love dying, kind of.
Yeah.
I love the challenge. I played through Neo, beat that like a month ago. Yeah, and I gotta say though that the game that I just really enjoy playing, and I've always loved him, is Ghost Recon.
You played Wildlands?
Yeah, I love Wildlands. Matter of fact, I had the opportunity to go and hang out with the creative director for Graw 1 and 2. He was the creative director for one of them. The other one, he was like a lead, and it was an amazing. I was like, you realize that's like my favorite of all time, like Ghost Recon series. So yeah, Wildlands, and then I just started getting into Monster Hunter.
I heard that's great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I wouldn't like it if I was by myself, though. I think it's a game you got to play with other people, in my opinion. What else? But I still have Horizon I need to play, Zero Dawn. I still need to play Uncharted. I haven't even gotten to Gears of War 4. My goodness, I don't know if I'll ever be able to keep up. I have The Witcher I still got to play.
Well, I mean, we have a couple guys on our podcast that have families, and I'm married as well. It's hard to find time with family life, but I would say if you ever end up finding yourself with a Switch, definitely check out Breath of the Wild. That is, even if you're not a big Zelda fan or Nintendo fan, I think it might be something that you'll dig.
Stop right there. I've put in about 150 hours into Breath of the Wild.
Okay, good.
Oh, no joke, man. Zelda is overall my favorite series. Has to still be The Legend of Zelda. It just has to be. Yeah, and I play Mario Kart with the kids. We have Mario the
Odyssey.
Yeah, we beat that. So yeah.
Well, it sounds like you got a decent. You have a good amount of games you got to play from 2017. You missed out on a few, but man, I mean, those Breath of the Wild, Ghost Recon, Neo. I mean, those are some good games, man. So you got to at least get to play some of the greatest hits.
Absolutely. And Cuphead. My kids.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yep.
Oh man, you pretty much played our Game of the Year list last year, which was like Cuphead, Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, and Hellblade. One of the guys on our group really loves it. So
I want to play that one too.
I've heard it's amazing. Okay, so we got to talk a little bit about how you got in the game industry. But one of the things I love asking people I get a chance to interview is, what's like a word of advice that you can give for anyone who's interested? They don't have to be interested in game development, but just somebody who's interested in getting into the games industry, whether it's on like community side or development side or any way that they can just be a part of it. Because I know that's something that a lot of us love and would love to be a part of.
Honestly, and I have no problem saying this, I'm not your prototype for someone who, should be in the gaming industry based on credentials.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I have done really well in, other jobs that I've done. I've done, like, especially in like regards to sales or management. And because of that, the skills that I've learned in life led to this moment. And if you want to make it in anything in life, you can't worry about what others think about you, meaning whether they think you're qualified or not. When you go in and do anything, you have to be 100% confident in yourself. Because if you're even just 90% confident in yourself, it's not enough. It's not a matter of ego. It's a matter of that you believe this is where you belong. And if you believe that, then the company that you're interviewing for or trying to work for is going to have a good chance of believing it if you do. I mean, you can have a degree, but something about a degree is that doesn't equate to experience necessarily. And yet, at the same time, if you don't have experience, all I got to say is it comes to drive, because I told you, I was in the right place at the right time, and I wasn't just I was a fan, but there's a lot of things in life that I use to work with this job, and I just like to be a very passionate person in general. So you need to be passionate. You need to have that motivation that you can't give up. You gotta, I don't want to say fake it till you make it, but you got to really believe in yourself, and you just never stop. I mean, anything in life, I can't say it enough, because I didn't have all the, not to be insulting, but so-called qualifications.
Well, I think it helps that you're a super affable and really nice guy, as well as well-spoken. I was about to say self-spoken, which doesn't mean anything. Well-spoken. So, I mean, that's a huge sell. I think the company, once they met you, realized like, hey, this is somebody that we want as part of our team and somebody who can relate to the U.S. audience. Because, I mean, when I was talking to them, they're like, hey, we're 15 hours, different time zone. This is not going to be possible to talk to you. So.
You know what? They have a good knack for talent. The team has a great source of talent, and they even have some young guns that are new to the gaming industry. But we have a great group of people. And you know something? When you start to, because whether we like the word or not, we all make judgments. And you can make a judgment saying, you know what? This person believes in you have to believe in your product. Yeah. And it's sad because different industries you're in, you can see when you're selling a product they don't believe in. Well, you know what? I obviously believed in the product, and it's so much so where every time I present it to the press, the game, every time I show it to the fans, I act just like I did when the first time I saw Kingdom Come Deliverance. When I listen to the music in the game, that's like, because the music we use is like very rich and just medieval history, and we use a symphonic orchestra, and I listen to that, and I just feel like I'm in the game, and it's just always that same intense, passionate feeling I have. So if you have that, you let the company know who you're working for, or want to work for the game, and just go for it. Talk to people. You have to get yourself out there, and you have to be diligent, because otherwise someone else is going to get it.
Oh, I totally agree with you, man. And that actually brought me up to a question I didn't get a chance to bring up. Who did your guys' score? It sounds like it's going to be amazing.
Oh, well, we have Jan Volta and Adam Sporka, our music composers.
Oh, man. Excellent.
Yeah, even in, like, for example, the monastery inside the churches, that you will even hear a Gregorian chant.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah. So they did their homework and made it worthwhile.
It's all about the immersion, baby.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can't wait, man. February 13th can't come soon enough. Yeah, man. Is there anything else that you want to say? We're going to plug this a little bit more before we close, but is there anything else that I didn't give you a chance to talk about?
You know what? I'm just so appreciative of the fans. I mean, as a community manager, you, of course, deal with a lot of interesting things that go on in forums, right? I'll just put it that way. But you know what? At the end of the day, I'm even thankful for people who just sometimes want to come in and say your game sucks, and I'm like, you know what? The fact that they're on the forums, I don't believe that they just believe it sucks. Otherwise, I don't know if they really waste their time to jump in there. I just think a lot of times some people are just as passionate as me about the game, and they're just mad because they just want to see the best of it, and they're worried that it's not going to be or something, And to them, I say, like, I think I'm thankful that even they're on our forums, and I'm thankful to the fans that are listening. Because I know when you play this game, all these worries or these, not that there's a lot of worries per se. I'm just saying any like doubts you had about this or that, like even my most favorite games, like the new, I know I'm sorry, I go off on tangents sometimes.
No. I'd love to hear this.
Even like the new God of War, for example. Yeah, it looks different, but you know what? When you play that game, when you start to enjoy it, all these concerns you had because you're so passionate about the game start to just crumble. Because then you realize you're playing a video game that you've been waiting for years, and it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. We're so close. I feel like if I could just like run right now or go through like some time warp to February 13th, I'd probably do that. I'd probably be there. Just, you know what I'm saying? And so, I can't pitch a 100% perfect game, but I can pitch this, that, the people who've been waiting will not have to wait much longer, and you're going to get your hands on it, and you're going to feel like you're actually there in the game, and you can play it the way you want. And I can't wait to hear about all the stories. And I thank you everyone for your support.
Yeah, man. It's going to be amazing. February 13th, PS4, PC, Xbox One. Is there anything that these people listening can do to help get the game more? I mean, it's already got a lot of visibility, but any like pre-ordering on Steam or following you guys on Twitter or Instagram, or is there something that we as listeners, as fans can do to help the game out before it comes out?
Absolutely. And I got something for all you guys. Stay tuned, because tomorrow, I'll just say it, tomorrow we're going to be going over an amazing contest, and it's going to be about, following our Twitter account, retweeting and saying something that you're most excited for Kingdom Come Deliverance. I mean, obviously pre-ordering is a very big blessing to us for support, and, just keep following what we're talking, our tweets on Twitter. You can go to our website, kingdomcomerpg.com. We have updates for our backers, so you can go there and you'll see the backers updates and rewards, and just keep following us, man, because we're going to be coming out, we're pumping out stuff every day, updates and stuff, it seems like. And you're in for a treat tomorrow. Follow us on Twitter, Warhorse Studios.
And do you guys have an Instagram or not right now?
No, we Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. Okay, Warhorse Studios, Facebook, KingdomComeRPG.com, Warhorse Studios, Twitter. Man, I am excited. By the time they're listening, this sounds like this survey, giveaway thing, whatever it's going to be, will be a little bit old, but we're still super excited. I can't wait, man. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? Even though, we're not going to even have a winner until February 12th. So
okay, well, then the listeners will hear this. If you're hearing this, go check it out. You got still some time. Thank you so much, Rick. It's been super awesome. Rick Lagnese. I got your name, right?
You got it. Thanks for having me.
Oh, man, it's been awesome. Thank you so much. Have a safe flight. I appreciate it. We can't wait to play this game. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for checking that out. If you wouldn't mind, please rate or review us on iTunes. Send us an email at superbscast@gmail.com or find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter. Thanks again, and talk to you all soon.
Super BS.
That's to us people that can feel things. It hurts.